Hello, my name is Tito Idakula. I am a writer, I am a speaker, I am also an advocate for helping those who have dealt with miscarriages or baby loss. And in addition to that, I'm a happy mom of three, and I just want to talk a bit about healing and dealing with grief and loss. But today I'll specifically be talking about going through the stages of loss and the stages of grief based on my experience losing a baby at full term after a day. So I'm going to just be sharing my story, and I'll be using that to explain the stages of grief for anybody who needs this. And I hope that this explanation helps you to at least articulate where you are if you're dealing with any kind of loss. Okay, so there are 5 stages to grief, right? And the 5 stages are denial, and then anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, and then acceptance. Acceptance is the 5th stage. And so most often they say we go from denial to acceptance, but the truth is that you don't have to go through all 5 stages, as well as people go through different stages at different times for different periods of time. So because I was in maybe anger stage for maybe years, doesn't mean you might not get over it in a day. You might not even go through anger. You might just go straight from denial to maybe even depression. It's all different. So everybody has a different experience with grief. I would say though that sometimes when you've dealt with loss, grief is your way of showing love. Like, so you love somebody and you lost them. Grief is your body acknowledging that you loved someone, and so don't try to deny that grief. But I'll just go straight to what I'm talking about today, which is dealing with loss and the 5 stages of loss. So number 1, I said already, is denial. What does that mean? It's when you can't even believe this news that you're hearing. So for me, I got to the States and then they told me, oh, your daughter has a congenital diaphragmatic hernia, which means that she might not make it when she's born. She might even die before she's born. And I was like, I started laughing. I couldn't, because I didn't expect that, and that's kind of what happens. A lot of times we don't see it coming, even when you expect it in maybe you're working somewhere and they say you have a feeling that you might get fired. Even when that happens, there's still that kind of, oh, I can't believe this happened. And so denial, you just hear yourself going, I can't believe this happened. Is this really happening? I can't believe it. Like you're saying it, but it's just not processing. So you're just struggling with the reality of this thing happening to you. And so moms that have lost children or that have had miscarriages, I always hear them go, how did you survive? I can't believe this is happening to me. I didn't think this could happen to me. And so there's just that feeling of, is this real? Is this really happening? And then from denial, you go to the next stage. Well, not necessarily, as I said before, everybody does go through the stages in the same way, but some people do. But just find what stage appeals to you. So the next stage would be anger. And anger means, I cannot believe this happened to me. I am so angry. This is so unfair. Why is this happening to me? No. And you're livid because you're just feeling like, why is this happening to me? This is unfair. And a lot of it also has to do with loss of control, because you're thinking, I can't control this. This is happening and it's unfair that this is happening to me and I don't deserve this. And so you're just livid. And I think with my daughter, I didn't get angry immediately. I think it took me a while to get to anger. And it's not because I wasn't feeling stuff. I think I really stayed in denial for a long time, and I was saying all the right stuff, and I really believed all the stuff I was saying. But there were times when I would sit with myself and I would get really angry and I would write it down and say, this is unfair. I don't think I deserve this. And I was angry with God because, God, why would you let this happen to me? It is unfair. It is not fair. I think one of the things we say a lot when we're angry is that it's not fair. And that gets you even more angry because why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. And so many of us go through that anger stage. And some people stay angry for a long time because they just can't wrap their minds around why this would happen to them. And they stay angry with God, they stay angry with themselves, they stay angry with their family for saying the wrong thing. And you find the anger comes in various ways. You don't even see it coming. And maybe one day you think, I'm fine. And somebody says the wrong thing. And before you know it, you erupt in anger. And you're thinking, where did that come from? Like, why am I feeling this way? And that could be your subconscious telling you that you're still hurting and that you need to address the pain that you're going through. Stage 3, bargaining. This is when you're like, okay, this is unfair, but there's something I can do about it. I'm sure there's something I can do about this. So, they're telling me at the hospital, oh, your baby is not going to survive. And I'm thinking, there must be something I can do. Okay, I'm going to pray, or I'm going to call people, or I'm going to sow. I just took my own bargaining options. I just thought, oh, there's something I can do, right? I'm not going to believe this. I'm going to do something. I'm going to pay for something. I'm going to check out doctors, or the doctor. So I was in bargaining mode because I just didn't know what else to do, right? And I guess that's the whole thing about grief, is that you don't know what to do. And so you go through these stages, and this is how you automatically respond to dealing with that kind of pain, right? And so you're bargaining and trying to find a solution where you can. And some people actually stay in bargaining for a while, especially if maybe that it's a terminal illness and you're thinking, oh, maybe there's a way I can change it. So you're bargaining with God, you're bargaining with people. You're just trying to think there must be something I can do. This can't just happen like that. And then maybe when you've tried everything, you might go into depression, which is stage 4, depression. And depression is when you're like, okay, I've tried everything, and now I see that there's really nothing I can do. And I just feel hopeless. I feel like there's no hope. I feel like there's no solution. I feel like I am lost. So I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to see people. I don't want to talk to anyone. There's no reason to laugh. There's no reason to be happy. I just want to hide and crawl in a corner. Or I might even be out and about, but at the same time, I'm questioning the reason for life. I'm questioning why I'm alive. I'm questioning what's the point. And that's happening to people where you're just feeling helpless. You're wondering what the point of the world is. And some people, this can get really difficult. Some people get suicidal because there's just no hope. You can't see the hope. You can't see any reason to be. It's just a hopeless situation, and people stay depressed for years. Some people not necessarily, but depression is one that manifests in different ways. For me personally, I probably went to depression on 2 occasions. I of course, after the loss, after dealing with the reality of it and being angry, and then realizing that there's something I could do, I just kind of, there were times I'll just stay at home and I'll just cry. Not only from anger, but just from the fact that there was just no hope. And I got over it, or I believed I did, and then I had my son, and I dealt with postpartum depression after I had my first child, because I was so fearful about the past experience that I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't at peace, I was always worried. It took me a while to realize that was my subconscious still grieving, and that was my way of still grieving the loss of my daughter. And then I had to start accepting it again and start dealing with that process again, and really looking at my emotions and the fact that, this thing happened, and I really had to get to the point of acceptance. And so after depression comes acceptance. As I said before, you don't have to go through every single stage. Some people go straight from denial to acceptance, maybe just because they're able to see things clearly. Some people go from anger to acceptance. Some people go from anger. Some people don't even put that with denial. They just go straight to anger. And then some people might not even go into depression, by the way. You might not go into depression. So there are different ways we all manifest this, and you just need to find out personally what stage of grief you are in. So now acceptance is when you're like, okay, this thing happened. It happened to me, and how do I move on? And then that's where you start looking at, how do I move on from this pain? How do I live my life with this pain? How do I heal from this? And the state of acceptance is one that, if you're able to get there quickly, you might actually go from acceptance to hope. And hope is not necessarily one of the 5 stages of grief, but it is a key stage where you go from acceptance, where you say, okay, this happened to me. I accept that it happened to me. How do I move on? How do I live my life? And then you go to hope, where it's like, okay, this happened to me. I've accepted it. Not only do I want to, how do I live my life? How do I let this experience teach me something? How do I let it teach me something? How do I let it mean something? Not just accepting and living your life as in line with that pain, but also, okay, how do I let it teach me something? How do I let it impact me and maybe impact other people? And I think personally, part of the reason why I can do this video is because I do believe that I'm in my hope stage, where every experience, every pain I've had, I've used it to propel me to teach others something. So my daughter passing and me sharing that story, I've used it to help others heal and, you know, help others know that they are not alone and grieving is natural and these things happen to everybody. And, you know, I found that the more I encourage others, the more I kind of let that pain have some kind of meaning. I've written a book. It's called Royalty, and that's also still talking about the lessons I learned as a result of the loss of my baby as well. So hope is the point where ideally we all want to get to, where not only have we accepted that this thing happened to us, but we now are looking at it like, what can I let this teach me? Is this going to make me want to live my life in a way that I know that I'm living my best life? Is this going to want me to help other people? Is this going to want me to just be present and enjoy the moment? You know, what am I going to let this grief teach me? And so that's the stage of hope. But everybody has a different journey, and in this process of grieving, I would always say this: don't ignore your pain. Don't try to just ignore it. And so those stages of grief also come, I should have mentioned this earlier, the stages of grief also come because it's a natural reaction, because you're not necessarily processing the pain. So your emotions are just kind of out there because you're trying to protect yourself. So your subconscious is trying to protect itself from that pain. So you just go straight to anger, because anger is safer than maybe feeling the hurt in a way that you don't like. So when you're trying to overcome grief, it's important that you actually sit down with yourself and identify what the pain is and why it hurts so much. And instead of cowering in fear, you can just address it, and you can take your time. But I hope that this helps you to understand, maybe if you're dealing with loss, what stage of loss you are in, and maybe you can then begin to process how you want to move forward from that. Next time I'll be talking about how to then overcome this stage and how to deal with loss in more practical ways. I hope this helps. My name is Tito Idakula. Follow me on Instagram at Tito Idakula, and then you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Lighthouse TV on YouTube, and I'll be sharing more as we go along. I hope this helps you, and then, you know, don't forget to share with someone that you think is hurting, or just for others to learn more about dealing with grief and the stages of grief. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.